Good morning, Stefan.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Why can I can't see you guys. Why?
You will see me, why not? Hello.
So everybody's informed about shortening presentations.
No, we yesterday we agreed actually that we keep the flow because now the Myros are simplified. So we manage.
Yeah.
This is what we discussed yesterday. We changed the setup and we thought like with the simplified one, it is possible now to have the time on. And then Alexander, he thought like at 6 o'clock, if we ask people to shorten, it's too late. They will not manage to cut it. But verbally, we will say that if you could do the uh, do it in 10 minutes, would be
Yeah.
appreciated.
I will try to shorten it,
Uh,
definitely.
uh,
Okay.
and one question like we put the thumbs up already on the recommendations, so we can ask people to like use two more additional ones. What is
Exactly.
there is there. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
So it will be a bit tricky because the Miro space is really large that people find their group. Okay,
um,
but now it's bigger written on top. That helps a lot. Cool.
yeah.
But we need to copy, like from group one, we need to copy all the additional to the group two, three, four.
What additional?
We have additional sticky notes, like the additional
Uh,
colors, the green and the white and the yellow. I will write it to thou.
I just,
uh,
I'm here too. I just
Okay.
want the sticky notes. So can you already copy them, or should I do it for all the group?
Yeah, please just do it for all of them. I
Okay.
mean, you do have time during the presentations
Oh,
also
yeah,
to do it.
that's
okay. Why? Okay. So we have the colors for effectiveness and feasibility,
Yes.
and the last one is the additional one.
Yeah, I don't know if we need any additional ones.
we need like other suggestions for improving the
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's
I mean
go.
they are only optional. You mean they are
Yeah,
just
yeah, sure. Yeah.
if in the facilitation you feel like okay we have time, we need this, or the participants could also incorporate that, then feel free to use them, but it's not mandatory. We don't have to.
You know what is really tricky is the size of the sticky notes. You have the really large ones on the top that you have to,
Yeah,
zoom in to read. And then if I should write effectiveness on such a small piece here, I cannot see anything.
so you can
So it's that.
both that you can just large, like make it yourself large.
Yeah, but I don't know if people, manage. We have really short time. I would just stay like with a reasonable size, right?
Okay.
Put away the small ones. We do have enough time to change this. So just make it as easy as possible. So they are somehow grouped. Oh, you have to be really careful about grouping. So I cannot take a single sticky note here because they are all grouped. I
Yeah.
don't know why, but now I can. Okay. So I would say, look, like the small ones, just put them away. Make those ones as large as possible. We do have enough space. Like make them like this,
Okay.
really large, and all the sticky notes, like put them underneath and make them the same size. So people can just grab one and immediately start like writing. So like this, like 4 rows, really large, so people can start writing. Okay,
Okay.
this will really help. And then copy those to the other boards as soon as you are ready.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Stefan, can you help me quickly to how can I give the speakers the host the right to present?
So this is not a webinar, right? It's a normal Zoom conference call. Okay, is it?
Um, I guess yes.
So I do have rights already. So I think by default, everyone has rights probably. So then you don't have to give it. So have you sorted out how to do the breakout rooms?
Our breakout room is no problem. I've actually already set up the
Right.
breakout rooms.
Okay. So let me just test my presentation, how to share it just very quickly. So we also need to really start on time. So I cut out like 3/4 of the slides, but participants will get all the slides. So there's no, I'm just talking about the interesting stuff only. And I think it's good for them. And maybe we should inspire everybody to do it like this. So if I choose this one, and then I go to presentation. And the stupid thing is that I need my presenter mode, and I don't have my presenter mode, and I don't know why. And that's so stupid.
That works if you have the two screens. If you have one screen,
I do have two screens.
yeah.
Yeah, I do have two screens.
Yeah, but with the Teams it works, I think. But
So it's not really working the way I need it to. So maybe I have to change the monitor settings first. Okay, I will try once again and see what happens.
Can you present? Oh, Ahmad, can you also try? Can you present? Because I think you will be the first one to present, right?
Yeah.
okay, I don't need presenter mode.
Okay, I just try very quickly. Okay, still not working. Shit. Okay, but at least you see the slides, right?
Yes, slides.
Okay.
See.
Ah, this is so stupid. Okay, so I'm not the first one to present, right? So I can print my notes and put them somewhere else.
Yes, I have also my notes in front of me, but it's not ideal. You're right.
No, it's really stupid. And I just checked the Zoom instructions and they say it should automatically work and it just doesn't. Okay. Okay, so last thing I
Or should I already start? Alex, you may want to welcome all. Okay, so then let me share my screen. I cannot share my screen. Yo, can you make me host? Yes, thank you. So do you see my screen all? Can you give me verbal feedback? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Welcome to all. Thank you very much for attending the webinar for Merlin. We will have, yeah, we welcome you all, first of all, and we start the webinar with the inputs from speakers. We have in our meeting today the representatives from FMCGs, plastic sector, IT, digitalization, and the companies from the food sector. So we welcome you all to our webinar of enhancing the circular economy in the plastic sector and learnings from good practices. Uh, I will start with the presentation of first presentation from my side. So I will talk about the uh, we have a deliverable in the Merlin project, as you know, which was the collection of good practices about the circular economy in the plastic, multi-layer plastics, and learnings from them and recommendations. So this webinar is a part of a presentation of the deliverable to you, and also to validate the recommendations we had collected and share some further good practices from different experts. We have today with us our CSCP colleague, senior consultant Stefan Schala, will share the presentation about the consumer awareness and consumer insights, using consumer insights to inform the strategies for plastic packaging. And then we have the Itene, they will talk about the circular design packaging, and Unica presenting the recovery technique for multi-layer packaging, and in Interzero, they will share their tool made for recycling with the evaluation tool for the circularity of plastics. So let's begin. We produced a report about the good practices about circular economy in the plastic packaging. I will share what we studied in the report. Yes, as I shared the agenda, introduce the agenda quickly, that we have the presentations from the speakers, and in the in the second round of this webinar, we will have the roundtable with the experts about the design field, about the consumer education and empowerment field, the recycling sector and policy, and then in the end, we will do the prioritization of the recommendations. So let's begin with the first presentation. It's about the insights from the Merlin Good Practice report about the good practices of increasing circularity of material packaging. I will cover in my presentation the background to the challenges of multi-layer packaging, and what is the challenges of this unique packaging type, and then how can circular economy help it, what are the good practices about that, and we then share some learnings from them. And regarding the challenge, as you know, multi-layer packaging is very crucial for the product production, storage, and transportation, especially in the food sector. And that's why we see, like, currently there is a 17% of the packaging of the all circulating plastic packaging belongs to the multi-layer packaging. However, there is a challenge in recycling of this type of packaging due to a variety of reasons. for example, these packaging is made using variety of materials and adhesive compounds, which are difficult to then separate and take apart from each other, which makes it difficult to recycle this packaging in the end, and it is being landfilled and or burned, incinerated. There is also lack of technologies for recycling of this type of packaging. There's technology which is only fit for selected type of multi-layer packaging, but not for all. And even though if we recycle the multi-layer packaging, the quality of the recycled material uh, uh, has been appearing quite low. So there is no high quality recycled rate produced from multi-layer packaging. And it's also the recycling of improving the quality and recycling rate of multi-layer packaging is important because there's a EU's plan to have all the packaging reusable or recyclable by 2030, and they want to have 55% of packaging to be recycled by 2030. Circular economy, as I said, could be a solution to the posing challenge of multi-layer packaging. There is a very famous framework for defining the circular economy. As you know, from Ellen MacArthur Foundation, they define the three principles of circular economy. The first one is the designing out phase. Designing out phase, these are the principles which focus on eliminating the waste by integrating design choices, ensuring that the material comes back, re-enters into the economy after the end of use. And these can be achieved through the product maintenance strategies, sharing strategies, reuse strategies, refurbishing, repairing, remanufacturing, and recycling strategies. The second principle of circular economy is increasing circularity. So this is to keep the materials and products in loop as long as possible, and if they are kept as a products, this is done through sharing. But if the products can no longer be used, we can use their components through remanufacturing. And if the components even not there is no components which can be remanufactured, we can recycle the materials. So this so-called using the keeping the materials and physical products in the loop is called technical sphere of circular economy. Then if the product is made of the organic materials, we can compose it and it can be re-entered into the nature. And the third principle is to use the renewable materials instead of fossil fuel materials. We looked into the circularity in the context of material packaging. That was in the beginning. I introduced the principles of circular economy at a broader level. But if we look into the design and of packaging design, then the circularity, we can study the circularity of the packaging at the two levels. One is the design level, the other one is at the use and end of life level. For the design level, we looked into different frameworks to study if the packaging can be considered evaluated as sustainable. A very interesting framework is by the Vienna University and Circular Analytics of Vienna. We have found this framework evaluates the product criteria, sustainable and circular criteria on three dimensions: the product protection, circularity, and environment. In terms of product protection, this is very important criteria. The product has to be mechanically fill the mechanical requirements, protection requirements of the product, which are the stress barrier requirements, and non-mechanical requirements like oxygen barrier and humidity factors, and it should not contribute to, or it should not cause the migration of plastics into the package contents. And in terms of circularity, the packaging should contribute to recycling rate. It should have high recyclability. Recyclability is the ability of converting the material into original like material without the loss. The packaging should be able to be recyclable. It should be made of recycled contents to contribute to need of avoiding the use of virgin materials instead of meeting the need of uh, uh, packaging material with the recycling materials, and it should be made of reusable materials, renewable materials. And then in terms of environment, it should not have direct impacts like the impacts of CO2 emissions, and indirect impacts in like odor and spoilage, premature spoilage, and it should be consisting of the certified materials. I will be very quick. I think I'm having the less time. Uh, then we move to the circularity at the end of life and use life phase. In this phase, there are different strategies which support the circularity of the packaging, and business models play an important role. So business models like reuse, repair, they emphasize the prolonging of the lifespan of the products and reducing the need for new products. Recycling plays an important role, which is the ability of converting the waste into new materials. And CSR and consumer education, the companies have the important role to play to raise the awareness of consumers about the importance of sustainable packaging choices, and empowering the consumer with the tools and informations to make decisions regarding the circularity and sustainable practices in their daily life. Then recycling, efficient use of recycling plays an important role in this phase. And the efficient sorting, efficient separation, and recycling new technologies, they play important role in contributing to increasing the rate and quality of multi-layer packaging, recycling. And then there's a important role of regulatory frameworks like EPR, extending the producer's responsibility to take care of their waste at the end of the product life. So what were the good practices we collected and evaluated in the report? So what we meant with the good practices, these are the good practices which are applied by adopted by the political actors, industry, waste management services, and other actors, which to address the recyclability and circularity of the plastic packaging, and they have the learnings for the other stakeholders in the industry. So we evaluated and collected good practices from across the value chain steps of multi-layer packaging value chain, from the sorting stage, delamination, material construction, production, retail, consumption, collection, and end-of-life phase. And additionally, we collected the good practices in the policy area and regulations. How we collected the good practices, identified the good practices. There were three sources. One was the desk research. We did a comprehensive desk research to collect the good practices. And then we also conducted the interviews with our Merlin project partners, which are representing whole value chain from sorting, delamination, material recovery to production and uh, uh, and recycling field. And then we also then did the stakeholder workshops to collect more candidates for the good practices. Then we evaluated them using this methodology, where we assess whether the practice has already been implemented and it has some positive results, some outputs generated in terms of improving the circularity of the packaging, and it does it have positive environmental impacts and also contributions to the improvement of the reducing pollution and improving the environmental performance, and whether they are transferable at the scale. And lastly, do they enable stakeholders to act on their motivations and overcome their barriers? So based on that, we were able to identify more than 30 good practices around four clusters of topics from circular and sustainable design, circular business models, consumer education, waste management, circular economy policies and regulations. So we had the good practices from from waste management, like robotics, artificial intelligence, deep learning. Our partners in the project like Robomatica, Iris, Ionica, they are innovating the solutions for the circularity and recyclability. Then we had also the examples from retail and production side, like Adika, who are having a education guidance and label for the put on the product, how to separate the parts of the product before throwing it for the consumers. And we had technical design good practice like KP is a British company who have created a sleeve, shrink sleeve film, which is put on the PET label, PET bottle. So PET bottle, it doesn't have to be taken out and separated before recycling. So it increases the rate of recycling and improves the ability of sorting machines. And then we have already good practices on the good policies. Let's look into the some learnings drawn from these good practices. The first as you know, there's a very high role, important role of technologies like artificial intelligence and robotics and deep learning. They can significantly improve the identification potential and separation potential for material packaging waste. Uh, we had studied the examples of companies like Send Robotics and Greyport. They use artificial intelligence to accurately identify and sort various waste types, and this increases the recycling of the material packaging. Then we learned that there's innovative technologies called delamination, which is very important for the separating layers of multilayer, and this can make the recycling efficient. However, the business case for delamination technologies is not viable now. Still, we saw like there's a Spanish company called Sulair. They have adopted an integrated approach, value chain approach, working with their suppliers, recyclers, and converters to develop a tray out of the multi-layer waste. So this shows that delamination technology is viable, of course, if we have the cooperation within the stakeholders. The third learning was that we have to test the recycled material, secondary raw material drawn from the recycling of material packaging for their health and safety risks. There is a company called Separatic. They conduct such tests, and they test if there are any challenges with the packaging safety for food products. This is very important that we bring those tests and inform the consumers that the products made from recycled materials, they are safe for their health. And lastly, producers and stakeholders, protection stakeholders, they have very important role in increasing the awareness of the consumers to choose sustainable and high quality packaging made from secondary raw materials and either renewable materials. We had a company R3 Pack which used the cellulose, plant cellulose as an alternative to polymers, plastic polymers. In Durama, they have shown there are project partners. They are producing the packaging from recycled multilayers. Suleri, as we discussed, KP Films. So there are many examples which are producing the sustainable packaging from recycled multilayer. Um, I'm keeping eye on time, 4 minutes left. The another learning which we learned from the review of good practice is to have the standardized recycled materials. And for that, the German Institute of Standards, they produce a standard, it's called DIN SPEC 91466, which provides a framework for evaluating the quality of recycled materials. Then it's also important to do the testing of recycled materials for their quality, high quality. If they are high quality, they can substitute the use of virgin materials. In Durama, in our project, they are producing the packaging and also at the same time testing their viability for use in the new packaging. Furthermore, as we said, the retailers, they have high role in consumer orientation and education to standardize relationship with the consumers and promoting their sustainability efforts through product labels, as well as on how to do the proper sorting of the separation of the packaging, as well as through digital platform providing education on proper recycling and disposal of the products. And However, whatever sustainable product we produce from recycled and secondary raw materials, they should not compromise the convenience and quality and price considerations of the consumers. There's one example of the initiative called Loop, which provide the reuse possibility to the consumer. So the consumers can buy the products from Loop counters in the place in partner supermarkets. So these containers, packaging containers, can be returned back after use. They can clean it up and fill the products with the in the packaging again. So this can be a reusable packaging. Lastly, there's a very high important role to convert the European level regulations at the national level, like the German Waste Management Regulation and German Packaging Act are examples of successful transportation of EU directives and international laws for waste management. So this aligns with the European regulations at the national level for recycling. So this will help to improve the recycling rate and quality of the recycling at the EU-wide level. So I think I will now close the recommendations, lessons learned from here. And then we continue in the afternoon, in the later part of the webinar to discuss the recommendations, concrete recommendations, and evaluate them. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Are we? Alexander? Would you like to invite now the next speaker?
Yes, so the next speaker would be Cesar, who is head of packaging and circular economy in ITENE. And he will provide some insights into circular packaging design. So I hope you can share your screen and this works.
Yes, I'm just trying to share.
Perfect. Looks good.
Just coming, I think.
Yes.
Can you see screen? Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, but
the floor is
in the right part. Okay, thank you very much. I will just yeah, no. Okay. Okay, so thank you for the invitation. So yes, my name is Cesar Aliaga. I'm coordinating the project Merlin. And here in ITENE, I'm the head of the packaging and circular economy. ITENE is the packaging institute in Spain. And I will just briefly present our
I think we just lost Cesar and his connection.
Yeah. Can you listen to me?
Now you're back, yes. But we
okay,
don't see your charts anymore.
Okay, but presentation is not there, right?
Yes, that's true.
Again, I will do it in a different way, just to see.
It's back again, yes.
Okay, now?
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. So I was saying that this is our research center. We are more than 30 years working on packaging and research. And we are 200 professionals, 16 of them PhD. Also, we have more than 7,000 meters of facilities, almost 900 customers last year, more than 100 research projects, and regarding innovation, more than 300, and testing services, more than 690. Okay, so we are doing research also technological assistance, testing services. Also, we are giving information, training, and networking all about packaging. So that's why we are involved in many projects. One of it is Merlin, okay, that some of the presentation of today will be aligned to this project that has the objective to sort, delaminate, and recycle multi-layer plastic packaging. Okay, this is, let's say, the target, and in order to work on this, we are developing innovative technologies. First of all, as I mentioned, to sort multi-layer packaging, because it's a challenge. No, multi-layer packaging cannot be seen as easily as monolayer, so it's important to work on sorting, both in the identification and then in the manual separation or with robots. Then the lamination is also very important, because once the multi-layer material is sorted, then we should separate the different layers. Also, we have a presentation of this after my presentation. And finally, then once the materials are delaminated and separated, then we need to recycle those materials. And of course, we need to improve processes to be aligned with those delaminated materials. No? So yes, a lot of research and a lot of innovation here, a lot of need, no? Because it's really recycling of multi-layer is really a must, because as you may know, in 2030, all packaging should be recyclable in Europe. So if we are not able to recycle multi-layer, then those materials will be out of the market. So, and of course, multi-layer are very needed for many applications, especially for food products, no, with a required shelf life. So yeah, it's, let's say, a very interesting and very challenging project. So this project, but also some others, are dealing with circular economy. I will just briefly show what is circular economy. I'm sure that most of you will know that at this time, but circular economy is to use waste as a resources instead of eliminate them, no? Which was the traditional linear economy. No? So we should move from this linear economy to the circular economy, in which waste are resources. Also important, the concept of waste hierarchy. All the legislation in Europe is aligned with this waste hierarchy regarding packaging, and we should boost prevention, followed by reuse, recycling, and recovery in order to reduce disposal. In fact, there are maximum patches of disposal, so disposal will be decreasing and decreasing in the following years in Europe. So important that all our developments are aligned to this waste hierarchy. Also, I want to say that sustainability includes several parameters. For instance, shelf life extension is very important. Recyclability is important, but as I mentioned before, also shelf life. Why? Because if the shelf life is too short, then we will generate food waste, which has also a very high impact. So it's not only recycling, there are other important sustainable requirements. For instance, shelf life extension. Also reduction. No? Reduction of packaging waste is very important, because if we reduce the packaging material, then we will reduce also waste. No? So this is even higher in the waste hierarchy. No? Reduction is even more important than the recycling. And finally, optimization of transport and distribution is very important as well, because then we can reduce carbon footprint. So for instance, if we choose a packaging that is not optimized for the transport, then maybe it's very recyclable. But if we are not optimizing transport, then we will be generating a lot of carbon footprint. Okay, so as a conclusion, recyclability is very important, but also shelf life, also reduction, and also distribution and transport, and many other things as well. So those are the legislation that have been published by the European Union during the last years. Actually, many documents have been published. We started with Circular Economy Action Plan like almost 10 years ago. And from that point, we have been receiving like many documents and strategies very important for us in the packaging sector. For instance, the plastic strategy, that was the first that established that in 2030, all the plastic packaging should be recyclable. Also, we have one directive from landfilling, landfilling, other of waste, and other of packaging, making some comments and requirements on those 3 areas. Then also the very well-known single-use plastic directive that were banning some of the plastic packaging, and we're also establishing some requirements and strategies for different plastics, initially for those that were found in the sea here in Europe. Also, the Green Deal is very important because it established that in 2050 we have to be neutral in terms of carbon generation. And finally, we have a draft, a proposal, which will be the most important document, which is the packaging regulation. As you may know, packaging regulation is about to be published, and this document establishes requirements until 2040. Okay, so all the packaging strategies, all the packaging sustainability, all the packaging work will be, let's say, influenced by this packaging regulation. We have been analyzing this document. It's not published, it's not a final document, but we can see that many requirements and objectives are set for the next years. So which are the main actions that will be established by this packaging regulation? So are those 5 that you have in the screen. And also eco-design, which is the main target or the main topic of this presentation, should be aligned with those 5 pillars, which is prevention, which is to use less packaging, also reuse, to use the packaging several times, also recyclability, to make materials and packaging that can be recyclable in the real life, okay, not recyclable theoretically, but recyclable in the real life, in the real industries. Also, compostability is very important for many of the packaging, and finally, recycling content. So it's important to include. Also, it's a challenge, it's a requirement, and in some countries, for instance, in Spain, packaging that is not recycled should pay a tax. So also important in an economical point of view. So now we are going to check how can eco-design help us in those 5 pillars. So regarding prevention, there is objectives defined in this packaging regulation is 13 and 15 reduction of packaging waste and packaging production, sorry. And here we have one standard, is the 13428, and this standard permits to evaluate if one packaging is reduced or not. A packaging reduced is when you use the minimum possible packaging material. So you have to demonstrate the critical points. Critical points means that you cannot reduce more the packaging, because if you do it, then you will have problems in the function of the packaging. No? So you have to technically demonstrate that you have a critical point so that you cannot reduce more the material, because of then you will have problems. For instance, in production, in distribution, in marketing, in information, or whatever. Okay, so this is the only way to demonstrate reduction, the critical points, and also the concentration of dangerous substances and heavy metals. So in Itene, we are doing this service. We are helping companies to investigate if the packaging is reduced to the maximum point or not, and if it is, then we demonstrate, we certify this prevention, which is aligned with the requirement of the packaging regulation. Then the second pillar, reuse. Also, there are some criteria, some requirements for reuse established in the packaging regulation draft, in which packaging, depending on the material and depending on the year and the application, has several reuse targets. This is important for you to know that reuse is something very new, very, let's say, innovative, because until now, if you go to a supermarket, this is maybe one question that I can address to you all, no? If you go to a supermarket, how many reusable packaging can you find in the supermarket? Nowadays, it's almost zero, no? And the packaging regulation established like very high percentages of reuse. I don't have the numbers now because the presentation is very short, but there are some requirements for reuse. So in order to demonstrate and to implement reuse system, then we have to apply, or we can apply the standard 13499. And what we have to check is that there is an intended purpose. So there is a objective, a real objective from the company to reduce the packaging. Also that the design is aligned with the reuse. And finally, that is available and is in place a reuse and reconditioning system. This reuse system can be, for instance, in the supermarket or can be directly in the company. Okay. So here we have some examples of reusable packaging. For instance, bottles for the HoReCa sector, but also for use, also for cosmetic products that you can refill in your house, also industrial packaging, or for instance, fruit boxes. Okay, but here we have to open our mind because many and more packaging will be reusable in the next year to be aligned with the requirements of the packaging regulation. So here from Itene, we also help companies to develop reusable packaging through eco-design and also to demonstrate the reuse one it has been established. Okay, this reuse of the packaging. So that was the second pillar, as I mentioned. First pillar, reduction. Second pillar, reuse. Let's see the third pillar of the eco-design, which is recyclability. This is very important because in 2030, all the packaging should be recyclable. Otherwise, they will be out of the market. We have here one standard, which is 13430, and we are helping companies to evaluate the requirements, which are 5. The design, aligned with the recycling, also the production, the use, collection and sorting technologies, and finally recycling technologies. So all those 5 stages should be aligned with the packaging. If not, then the packaging is not aligned with recyclability, and that means that it's not recyclable, and that will be out of the market. So here we also help companies to demonstrate the recyclability, and also we are doing some testing, some experimental testing, following some methodologies, for instance, Recyclash for plastic, but also Atichelka, Sepi, and Ingede for paper. Okay, so here also recyclability theoretically is possible, but also experimentally we can analyze, we can confirm recyclability aligned with the requirements of Europe. Then the fourth pillar of eco-design is the compostability. Compostability is also a must. Also the packaging regulation establishes the obligation of compostability for some of the packaging materials, initially for capsules, coffee capsules, tea bags, and also labels for fruits, and finally bags, like very lightweight bags. So requirements for compostability are established in the standard 13432 and are the concentration of heavy metals that should be below some levels. And also we have to confirm that the packaging is biodegradable, disintegrable, and the quality of the compost is high. So Itene has a composting lab in which we can certify, we can test, and we can certify also compostability. And finally, we have this 153443 for the recycling content, which is the last pillar of eco-design, which is the introduction of recycling material. As I mentioned before, there is a tax in some countries, for instance in Spain, so it's a requirement, but also some taxes applied to the plastic not recycled. Okay. It works through traceability. So in order to check if one plastic packaging has recycled material, we cannot test it in the lab. It's impossible. So if we test a plastic in the lab, we cannot certify that the material is recycled or not. No, we can maybe let's say suppose or maybe guess that some recycled plastic is in the packaging, but we cannot know with a test, with a chemical test, the specific percentage of recycled material. In order to check it, should be through traceability of the different stages of the process. So what we are doing this through with the collaboration with Recyclash and Embacir, okay, to check recycling content and also to help companies to certify it and avoid, for instance, the pay of the tax. And then, as I mentioned before, eco-design is very important for this. So eco-design is the way in order to work with those 5 pillars: prevention, reuse, recyclability, compostability, and recycled content. And in fact, we have been helping in the preparation of a specific guide, eco-design guide for packaging, that has 7 steps, which is start the process, know, assess, define, solve, specify, and verify. Okay, those are several stages. It's a guideline of eco-design that helps company to follow from the beginning to the end of the process of eco-design. So if you are interested, we are here to help also to work in the eco-design of your packaging. So that was all. Thank you very much. And if you have any question, I will be glad to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cesar. I think regarding the time, as we're a little bit tight, I would suggest that you put your question in the Q&A section, which you can see on the Zoom below, and then it's for us the occasion then to follow up, maybe then bilaterally. Because now I would like to hand over and let Stefan dive into the consumer perspective of packaging, which you already also mentioned, Cesar, but I think it's quite important. So the floor is yours, Stefan, please.
Right, it's helpful if I open my microphone. So welcome everybody. There was a lot of input, very insightful, but still, I mean, take a little breath and maybe we go to a bit more, not really easier questions, but I just thought of reducing my presentation from about 17 slides to 7, which doesn't mean that you don't get them all. We have lots of material behind, but I would just try to focus on the really interesting stuff and maybe also help you a bit to digest all the information you just got. Yes, circular packaging from the consumer perspective. Where we started out is we had a great project with a consumer insight action panel on packaging. So what we essentially try to do is to integrate the consumer insights into decision-making, testing new approaches with consumers, and also see like what kind of interventions might help to activate, educate, to reach out to consumers. You see like it's quite a different range of partners, from academia to businesses along the whole value chain. Quite interesting project. And I just jump over and tell you something about the real life tests we have done. A first very insightful activity was a household waste analysis. So what we did is in the German waste collection systems, you normally have like one bin, the yellow one for all kinds of packaging, and then the remaining residual waste in the black can. So what we tried is, of course, anonymously, we got from 15 different households these 2 bins and looked for specific packaging, and especially for packaging that requires some kind of separating, special sorting. So you can have the classical yogurt cup, but you also think of these trays where you have prepackaged slice of cheese or meat, where you normally have multiple kinds of plastic that ideally you would separate for better recycling. And what we sought, so some of the main insights, I would say, is infrastructure really plays a role in sorting. So you could easily, for example, tell that if you have a waste bin that's coming from a children's room, there's no sorting at all, just because there's also no sorting possibility at all. So you find like from socks to Lego bricks to chocolate packaging, just anything in the residual waste, which is of course not really helpful for any kind of recycling activity. You could also tell that consumers do not, at least like in 2020 when we did this research, do not really actively look for any kind of separation information that you nowadays find more often on packages. So we actually looked on the packages if they have these kind of information, and if this packaging then was, let's say, better recycled than the rest, and we couldn't really find a difference here. So it's something, of course, that consumers need to learn first, that there is helpful information on the package, and then they can use it in their behavior. You could also say that there's a lot of lack of knowledge about separating different components. You see that people tend to make their life as easy as possible. So especially with the packaging waste that becomes like really high volume, they try to use like every bit space and squeeze it all together and put multiple packages into each other. And this, of course, is not really helpful for the recycling process, but of course for the place and for the storage in the households. Another thing we did is we had a cooperation partner, DM, which is like a reseller of any kind of shampoo and body care products. So we had a different style of a packaging that you could easily like hang in your shower and then open it underneath and squeeze a little bit. And this packaging actually reduced plastic by about 60% compared to the conventional bottle that you had. And we just tried everything. We had funny posters putting on the side, like hinting, look, there's a new kind of product, a new kind of packaging you could use. We placed it different in the shelf to bring it higher up on eye level. We had these footprints here, like going to the new solution, telling consumers, look, this is there you can save plastic in your shopping decision if you want to. And all of these were more or less senseless, you can say. But still, we learned quite a lot. We learned, for example, that design really is information. And this is especially true if you have a packaging that is very close to, from the design to another packaging that consumers know. And then, for example, it looks like a refill packaging. And so most of the consumers, they actually thought it's a refill pack and it's not a packaging on its own. So design really is information, especially if it's some kind of learned design. Then engaging retailers is really the big leverage point, because the only thing that really made a slight difference is placing it differently in the shelf. So we often tend to underestimate the power of placement, and placement is really important. So if the retailer basically decides if they want to push a product or not, and if they want to bring a new product to the consumer's attention or not. And this really helps, and you need to work then with retailers if you have something new that needs to enter the market and needs to build up new routines. What we also saw is that routine really often beats rationality. So you could easily tell, like we had this funny poster with the kangaroo here. And probably I could have stood outside later on and asked consumers, I would give them 100 euros if they could tell me where the kangaroo is. And I could have easily saved my money because nobody really knew. And this is because people just enter the shelf and they go like in their routine way through the store. They have lists of products they want to buy. And this really, that really doesn't help to see anything new. So they basically, they have no eyes for seeing anything new. They are in their routine and they have a very plan in their head, and this is what they are following. And this is probably 90 to 95% of product selection. But what we also learned is that this kind of survey actually does a big help. So what we did is we observed people looking what are the products they use for their shopping baskets, and then we could ask questions, just a couple of questions afterwards. Why are you choosing this product? Have you seen that there's an alternative? And you can learn a lot from these kind of questions, and it doesn't really take a lot of time. Another really interesting thing we did was the last test, where we had two products. You have this monomaterial foil, And then you have these 3-component cup. It's a cold coffee in this case. So you have a plastic cup, you have paper wrapped around to stabilize, and the aluminum lid here on top. And what we did is we created a separation logo for it. And here you can see, so what are the different things you should ideally do with it? And then we told people that this is not about packaging, but this is about taste. So we invited them for a tasting. And they could taste the product. And then we said, okay, but it's highly important. This is what the city municipality, they told us. So we have to make sure that this waste doesn't end up in the pedestrian area. So please, could you, after you finished your product, could you please bring it to our bins and just throw it away? So we didn't even say just recycle it, so just get rid of it. And then we observed the different recycling behaviors. So we had on top also like some hints telling you how to recycle. We had different bins normally with a learned color, with the blue for paper, and also sad paper on top. It's sad packaging, and this is the remaining residual waste. And then we looked what happened. And if you see, results were quite interesting, because the label was really not really perceived. It's about 20% of people that perceive the label at all. The poster is even worse. It was about 3%. The monomaterial, that's the easy stuff, that was completely sorted separately, correctly. So like there's 100% packaging, put in the packaging waste and done. But this coffee cup was only 20% really completely separated. And what we also learned is it's a lot about context and what people perceive and don't perceive. And what most people perceived even as a better like sorting and separating guide was the little perforation on the paper cup here. So when they hold it in their hand, they actually feel that there's a line where you can easily open the paper. And this helped them. This helped people better than any kind of information. So again, design is really an important factor. Haptics, optics is really a signaling agent, I would say. And it's really about habits and learning rules of thumb of recycling behavior, because we still ask people also afterwards, why have they recycled the way they did? And most of them who did it correctly, they have learned to do so beforehand. You'll see all these little boxes, so you can deep dive into all these kind of information later on. And the very last slide, where we try to summarize some of the main findings, is if you look at consumer acceptance and consumer challenges, is please don't stop at inacceptance. So this is normally the starting point. If consumers don't accept anything, that's, I would say, normal behavior, that they don't accept anything right away. So the first try is normally not like the best one and doesn't hit the nail right from the beginning. But it's the starting point where you can ask some questions, do some surveys, and learn like what could work better. And this is also what we did. So we revised some of our inventions and got a little better over time. What you definitely need to do in the whole area of packaging is view consumers as an important part of the circular value chain. We have too many packaging still out there that are theoretically recyclable, but in practice they are not, and they are doing a really bad job in practice because consumers, it's too complex and they cannot work with it. Bringing me to the next point, keep complexity low. This is probably the biggest one, where you have a lot of exclamation marks at the end. Keep complexity low. That's really the main driver of anything. You could also tell that emotions are really a main driver for any kind of sustainable behavior. This is also what we learned, because we had at the same time a consumer community, and we had lots of tasks and interactions with them. And really, it's all about routines. If you ask yourself, like, accepting a new option is a big learning process, and it really takes time to do so. And you need a lot of support. And ideally, you need something that is really beneficial in several aspects, beneficial for you, then you're more willing to take it up. And of course, be aware of this knowledge behavior gap. So if you want to optimize the consumer side, it's not about asking some questions. We rather observed people when they did their behavior and then discussed with them about it. And this was much more insightful than sending any kind of questionnaires out and asking people how they would like to behave, because we all would like to behave very sustainable, but we have lots of barriers to do so in real life. All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Stefan. Always quite amazing, and yeah, reminds me of my past as a FMCG product manager, where I discussed a lot of those things on different packagings, and it's still very up to date and a lot of things to do. Thanks a lot. Yeah, now I would like to set the stage for Marianne from Ionica, who will give us some insights more about innovative processes, and I hope you can share your presentation.
Is it visible?
Yes, very good.
Okay, let me go to full screen.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay, so welcome to this this presentation of the webinar. I think the presentations we had so far were very, very interesting, so I hope I have a valuable addition to that. In the next say 10 to 15 minutes, I will be presenting Ionica, mainly the role that Ionica played within the Merlin project, and then of course focusing on the development of this innovative solution for the delamination of multi-layer packaging. So yeah, as said, I will first introduce Ionica to you a little bit about the company itself, our history, what our current performance is. Then I will go to the objective of Ionica, the objective as Ionica as a whole, but then also specified to the Merlin project. And then I will focus more on only the Merlin project and the theoretical form of the process that has been developed in the project. And then I will show you the results of what we did as well. So as said, first some company background. We're a Dutch company, we're a Dutch scale-up company. We actually are a spin-off of the university in Eindhoven. And we're still based in Eindhoven with our offices and our laboratories. Currently, we do not have a real connection to the university anymore. Besides that, we are still in Eindhoven on the campus with our offices and labs. We're specialized in the chemical depolymerization of PET. So more on that when I dive deeper into the process. And this chemical depolymerization of PET, we can do it with our catalyst, which we have a patented catalyst, and the corresponding purification process that is required to produce very high quality PET monomer, which equals virgin quality PET if it's been polymerized again. I joined Ionica in 2019, and since then a lot has changed. The company grew massively in size, and also in how far we are with the development of technology is of course in 5 years it is an immense improvement. We also when I joined had only 7 patent families, and currently that's already over the 19 patent families with the global coverage. Patents are very important to us because we are a licensing company. So we want to eventually license the chemical depolymerization process. So we have in the Netherlands, you can see we have our offices and R&D in Eindhoven. That's where I'm based, and I'm here at the moment. Then we have a mini plant in the harbor of Rotterdam. This is basically a big laboratory. We just have a plant with a 1,000-liter reactor, and we can do experiments there. So the BET that we produced for the Merlin project was from our mini plant, but we do also have a semi-industrial scale plant. But this plant, it is really for demonstration purposes because eventually we want to sell licenses. So the semi-industrial scale plant is more as a blueprint, as a showcase for eventual licensing. So Ionica is not gonna sell PET monomer. We're not gonna sell the beer, but we're gonna sell the knowledge eventually. So a little bit timeline. So in 2019 we were founded. We did do a lot with magnetic fluids. And then in 2011 it started to be really focusing on using the magnetic fluid as a catalyst for upcycling PET. Then we had some first patents that were filed, but also some innovation award that was actually won. We won various prizes with just the idea and the goal of the company, and also got some support via those awards that we won. Then this is the commissioning of the mini plant in Rotterdam, our big lab, as I would like to call it. Here you see another winner that we got another prize that we won. We also see some partnerships in the timeline. We see a partnership with Unilever, Indorama, and Coca-Cola. Indorama is also part of the Merlin project, but we already have a long relationship with them. And also recently we are into a partnership with the KTS, that's Koch Technology Solutions, and they are a partner that will really help us move towards writing a technical annex and licensing, because Ionica has a lot of knowledge on the process, but licensing a technology is another skill, and KTS is on board there. And also, of course, we need to do all the legislative actions to make sure that our monomer is actually all approved. So that a bit about the history. So our objective, what do? We recycle the unrecyclable PET waste, and by doing so, we want to contribute to a closed loop system for PET plastic. So you see here unrecyclable PET waste. We target the waste that is currently not suitable for mechanical recycling because it is too contaminated. It can be that there's a mix of colors, it can be that there's other polymers present, or it can be that it's a multi-layer system. And that's of course the aim of the Merlin project. So this is our technology in a very schematic way. Of course, there is loads and loads more depth to discuss, but I will keep it at the process represented by 4 pots. The first step is that we start with shredded PET waste. Most of the time it's colored, of course. Anything can be present here in theory. It can be pieces of metal, pieces of paper, of wood, screws, whatever. We find anything in the feedstock. Then we do our depolymerization technique. So with our patented catalyst, we bring the PET in solution and we fully depolymerize the PET material. And we basically filter out anything that is not dissolved, that was not PET. And then the third step is the magnetic separation, because our catalyst is the smart magnetic nanoparticles. Those can be reclaimed by a magnet. You can also reclaim them by other ways because it is just nanoparticles that can agglomerate. But then we also remove the catalyst. So the catalyst can be reused again for the next depolymerization. And of course, we also don't want to have the catalyst in the end product because the end product needs to be very, very pure to meet all the food grade standards. So after recovering the catalyst with the magnetic separation, we have some more purification steps to be done, and then we end up with virgin-like raw material. So this is really high level what Ionica's process is. This is a bit more depth on the chemistry that we're doing, because we're doing a glycolysis process. So that means that we start with PET. We do glycolysis. That means that we do the depolymerization with glycol. We do ethylene glycol, and then we make this monomer. So to go from PET to behead, there's multiple routes that you can follow, as you can see in this schematic diagram, but we follow the direct route to behead. There's a few advantages to that. It is a very simple process with modest with the mildest process conditions. So we just work at normal pressures and not too high temperatures. Also, we don't break the ester bonds as compared to the other routes that do that, and therefore it's less energy intense. And we make one product. We just make the behead. instead of maybe multiple products, like the monomer NEG. So that is why we see the advantage in doing the glycolysis route. There is also a disadvantage, and that is that behead, so the monomer that we are making, is a new monomer. So there's a lot of work to be done on the regulatory affairs side of things and legislation, because the monomer needs to be recognized in an EFSA dossier for food safe contact material. Even though behead will never be, you will not make a behead bottle, it will be a PET bottle again that you're drinking from, but we of course, we need to convince EFSA that it's all safe that we're doing. So that's a lot of work, and that's maybe the disadvantage that you can say for glycolysis, but we think still the advantages are stronger than the disadvantages. Okay, so now a bit more on Merlin and on the multi-layer packaging that is targeted in Merlin. As Ahmad said in the one of the first slides of this webinar, there's a lot of multi-layer packaging that's currently not recycled. The rigid multi-layer packaging is the group that Ionica wanted to study within the Merlin project, because there is a significant part of PET in rigid material. The rigidity is often coming from PET. So since it is more than 90%, it's a very interesting feedstock for us. In the rigid multi-layer packaging, the PET layer is often combined with an oxygen barrier layer, which is very frequently an EVOH oxygen barrier material. That's a thin layer, but it's still there. And then the whole is sealed off with a polyolefin layer. So this actually is new to Ionica in the sense that we normally see the PET flakes being mixed maybe with a certain percent of other flakes, but within the same flake, there was not a feedstock that we saw before. So especially the EVOH was very new, because as of now we work with sorter reject material from bottle sorting, and there was just very little EVOH. We never really found it, but with multi-layer packaging we did see significant amounts of it. So the EVOH barrier is what we're really focused on. And then within the project we developed a pretreatment for EVOH removal and thereby delamination, because it's the middle layer. And since this is a pretreatment, it is really seen as leverage over core process, because everything stays the same. We just need to do an upfront treatment to make sure it does not cause any issues in the downstream process that is already developed by Ionica. So this delamination step, how does it work? We take multi-layer tray flake and solvent, and that goes basically in a pot, and we heat it and stir it for some time, and then the EVOH barrier starts to dissolve. And then actually we have a separation between the layers. So PET is very high density and it will go to the bottom of the flask, and if it's laminated, the polyolefin layer is very light and it starts to float, and the EVOH is dissolved in the solvent. And of course, for the process optimization, we need to recover this solvent, but that is just there's nothing too strange, I believe. The solvent recovery is just needed. We need to get the EVOH out and use the solvent again, because we are using a lot of solvent otherwise. So this is an image of actually this pretreatment being done in the laboratory, and I hope you can see that there is plastics floating here on top, and that's actually the delaminated polyolefins that came loose from these PET flakes, multi-layer flakes. These are now clean PET flakes, and these flakes that are now cleaned will just go to Ionica's normal process, be depolymerized and be turned into behead, and the behead is then used for repolymerization into PET. And that is actually what you see here. So you might recognize some of the pots that we had a few slides ago as well. So for basically what was developed in Merlin was basically the front end bit. So you see this was already from Ionica, and this extra pretreatment step has been squeezed in. And it fits in nicely in the whole process flow. So we did do this actually in our Rotterdam mini plant. So on a 1,000-liter reactor scale, say roughly 100 kilos of flakes per trial. We did that, and these are actually photos of the samples that were taken at each of those stages in the process in the runs that we did for the project. So this is the flake that we start with. We do the pretreatment. Then we have cleaned flake, and then we actually have a reactor sample, which is black because the catalyst is there. Then we have the catalyst separation, and in the end we have the very clean behead. Our target for the project was to produce more than 80 kilos for the next work package to be repolymerized into PET, and actually we produced it successfully, so we were very happy with that we could give our project partner the behead. So yeah, as to emphasize a little bit more what our real Merlin achievement was, is that the Ionica process was adapted with this pretreatment to be suitable for multi-layer tray feedstock. We did do this in the 1,000-liter mini plant, and as of now, the behead is produced and ready to be polymerized by our project partner, and then we will know the quality of the PET and therefore the packaging that is eventually made from it. So we're very excited to learn those results as well. But everything that we know from how it was produced, it should just be PET as always. That is what we believe. So one slide again with all the project partners. Inorama is the one that will do the polymerization. I think they should start kind of soon. They have the material at least. And yeah, with that, I'd like to thank you for your attention, and I hope yeah, it was interesting for you.
Thank you very much, Mariana. Yes, it shows how important it is to stay innovative and find also new solutions to existing problems, and quite impressive. Yeah, as the time is running, I would like now to introduce Julian from Interzero, and he will present to us their Made for Recycling tool.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you do see my screen. You can hear me well, as long as there's nothing else saying. Perfect, thanks. Yeah, I'm Julian. Thank you very much for the introduction already, and having these also 10 to 15 minutes to briefly show what we're doing, and to present some best practice cases in terms of sustainable packaging design. So yeah, to introduce ourselves, first of all, Interzero Plus. We're an EPR scheme from Germany that's vertically integrated, and I wanted to point out here that we are the largest sorter of lightweight packaging in Germany and Europe. And statistically, we're sorting every third packaging or every third yellow bag that is disposed. And yeah, you see here we're doing this on 5 sorting plants, and this is why it's so important for us that we have a well-working incoming stream into our sorting lines. And here we have 3 main leverages for high recycling quotas. And of course, we can improve the sortability or the technology, the sorting technology we have on our lines. You see here a picture from our last nearest sorting plant in Marl, in Western Germany, and where we have more than 60 near-infrared scanners for detection of the materials, and some of them also working with robots and cobots to really sort out the last percentages of possible goods, to bring the highest possible value into the recycling stream as well. So yeah, I'm a packaging engineer. I'm running the Made for Recycling department, and we're having 5 colleagues that are also packaging engineers and recycling experts. And we help our partners, so licensing partners, big brands, as well as packaging manufacturers, to increase the recyclability. As I said before, we can improve the technology on our sorting lines, of course, to detect the material, but we need the recyclable packaging design in place to really make them collectible, sortable, and recyclable. And what we've seen already before, another big topic we have, and in my opinion, also one of the biggest, is the end consumer education, to bring trust into the recycling streams, to bring a sense into the doing. And when people know what they're doing it for, all this separation that we try to force them to do, is giving us a big or a better chance to get the best out of the waste streams. And as I said, we are making recyclability assessment now since almost 6 years. And we're looking for the practical collection, sorting, and recycling infrastructure. And it's already starting at the point you see on the very left. We call this the stages of the afterlife of a packaging. So when the product is used and the end consumer is maybe in the kitchen, asking the question, where should I put this packaging? Where should I put this cup with the paper label around, or where should I put the milk carton now? And here, logos and advices for correct disposals do already help to increase the recyclability. But still, especially for such paper composites, it's hard to intuitively see or to judge by the average end consumer whether to put it in the paper or the plastic bin. And this is the moment where already our test starts. And in the next phase, in the second pillar you see here, in the sorting, we're making real sorting tests. We're looking whether the packaging is large enough to be sorted, so technically spoken, right? If there's a packaging that is smaller than 2 by 2 centimeters, the air nozzles from these near-infrared scanners does have only a certain chance to really hit such a small packaging. So this is a technical point of view. I'm not talking about the economical point of view of sorting, right? When you see on different sorting lines in practical cases, between 25 millimeters by 25 millimeters or up to even 80 millimeters on lower quality sorting lines, you see that there's you need to run the machine much slower to sort even smaller parts, and this is why we're here looking for the technical sortability, and of course the detection of the material, whether the label on a bottle is too large to really detect the main material. And here, as I said, we're making real sorting trials. And with every type of packaging, even if it says 100% polypropylene or 100% polyethylene by the specifications, we're making these tests because we see way too often that these specification doesn't have the information we really need. And even smallest parts of copolymers or something where a manufacturer thought, yeah, that's not a relevant information, or the brand just didn't know about it. Yeah, we learned better, and we're good to go to really go into the sorting tests here. And in the very last part, in the recycling part, we're looking whether there's a real recycling infrastructure in place. Cesar said this earlier already. It's not about technical recyclability. We need to have a business, someone, and not and more than only someone, doing practical recycling for these streams. And yeah, there we're looking for the main material streams: polypropylene, polyethylene, rigid and flexibles, PET bottles. The tray stream is coming. What's more an issue, internationally spoken, is polystyrene, and of course exotic bioplastics like PLA and something like this. And in the very last two steps of our analysis, we're looking for the recyclable share. So when you see somewhere 95% or 100% recyclable, saying this is 1 out of 7 criteria for us, right? And even in 95% recyclable content, there can be something in there that's having smaller or bigger issues on the recycling process. We've seen the EVOH barrier in this PET multi-layer structure. We know the metallizations we're having in chips bags, for example. These would be part of the recyclable content, depending on what DIN norm you are doing the analysis with. But yeah, they can have also an influence on the quality of the recyclates, and that's what we consider here as well. We're making the analysis based on the German minimum standard that's coming with the German Packaging Act, but we transfer the result to up to 20 global countries by now. So we talked to colleagues of ours from different countries. I've seen one colleague from the UK in here in this meeting as well. So we're well connected, and yeah, we're investigating on what the infrastructure is in different countries so that we can help brands and manufacturers to really design a packaging that's getting really recycled in Germany and other countries and target markets. And to show this to end consumer, we have the Made for Recycling label as well. And this is a sign for end consumers on the point of sale to really see, okay, maybe this is a plastic packaging I have in my hand, but it's some valuable material for someone and some recycler, and this is why it's a better plastic, so to say. But I'm not only talking about plastics. Paper is a big topic, of course. I will come back to this in a second. And yeah, we're making these analysis for basically all kinds of packaging materials. And I brought with me some best practice cases that I will go through, and I try to look into different sustainability fields, so to say. So we're talking about recyclability, recyclate content, paperization, as I said before, right? Many people, or as a result of plastic bashing, are changing to fiber-based packaging. There are good and bad solutions to do that. I want to show you one of these, and two interesting approaches regarding reduction. So it's in the bottom of this list, but the reduction, as Cesar said as well, it's on the top of the hierarchy. So yeah, monomaterial. A packaging that you see here for coffee is from a classical point of view, packaging coming from a minimum 3-layer structure of PET on the outside, a printing behind the PET, so you have a high quality and also covered printing. You have an aluminum barrier for saving the coffee itself, to save the aroma and the shelf to increase the shelf life. And you have polyethylene on the inside of this structure to basically form the packaging, to seal it together, so you can make out of the film a 3-dimensional packaging bag. And this structure has been there as long as flexible packaging for coffee. And with all the discussions about sustainability, we started projects and worked with customers and partners like Dahlmeier for years now to come from these multi-layer structures that probably end up in an aluminium recycling stream, and where only the aluminum will be recovered, and you lose all the PET and all the PE in there. So really, the smallest share just has been recycled to switch to a mono material. So this can be either, or today we see mono PE solutions, polypropylene solutions out there that's running on existing machines. It's not hard, and it's more expensive than just running the old school 3-layer structure. But it's a massive increase in terms of recyclability. And depending on the shelf life that you want to get, you can use EVOH barriers, aluminum oxide, silicium oxide barriers in there. These barriers, aluminum and ALOX and SIOX, are still a bit better than in EVOH for us. But yeah, here we're talking, of course, about cost differences as well. But we are happy to come from 3-layer structures to really monomaterial solutions. In terms of recyclate use, really to bring the stuff or the packaging we've seen before, right? If this would be a polypropylene recycled in our plant in our own plant for PP and PE recyclates, we could bring into such a packaging you see here, right? This is a 10 box from Aldi that we eliminated all virgin plastic. There's 92% really virgin polypropylene in, or has been in there. The 8% we have there is colorant and other additives, and of course only these 92% we could substitute with recyclates from the yellow bag, and this is a possibility to save 29 tons of virgin material every year. The packaging itself, of course, is designed recyclable. The label we have on there is made out of polypropylene as well. It's well detectable, and yeah, this can be seen then as a closed loop solution. This packaging can be made out of this packaging again, And yeah, this was awarded by the German Packaging Award and the World Packaging Organization, so the World Star as well. Some projects that we are not directly involved in the development, and we were more like the ones giving the final approval of recyclability, is the Nucao papers. So this is a sustainable chocolate brand, I would call them, and they have salted almonds as well, or general nuts with a chocolate coating, but also chocolate bars. And they switched, and there was a press release, I think, some days ago, that they switched all of their bars to such a paper solution as well. And as I said before, lots of paperization you see currently in the market. You see PET bottles change to paper bottles. Of course, paper, there's still plastic in there, more or less. And you need also here some kind of coating to make out of the paper a sealable 3-dimensional packaging. But you need to design the packaging that it's well working in existing paper streams. There is, depending on what European country you are, these thicker plastic paper mixtures need to find special paper mills, paper recycling mills, and these are hard to find. We know 2 in Europe currently, and this is really not working in a sustainable way. So we need to find solutions that work in our separate paper collection at home to have a recycling that's also working close by. And here, finally, these 2 reduction cases. One of them I wanted to show is, I think looking really good. It's the Coca-Cola Sprite brand getting rid of the label, right? Much information assigned on there that has all been transferred to the bottle molding. Right, I think there's a code, so the caching code. How do you say? Yeah, encode, barcode, printed on the top of the cap. We need to have this information. I'm not yet sure if this is working in the German deposit system, where you would still need some special ink printed on the label, but in countries where there's no deposit system for such a bottle in place, this is a solution. And I think it's so good because it's so visible for end consumers. You see right away that you can save plastic here, and here it's increasing recyclability and sortability as well. And last but not least, something we've seen, I think 1.5 years ago. This is a milk carton that has been in a German supermarket chain or discounting chain. And they didn't want to increase the price. They didn't want to make 0.9 liters out of 1 liter in this packaging and try to find a way to save cost. And they did it by replacing the reclosure that we all know on the packaging. I'm 35 years old. Looking back into the early days as a child, yeah, you just cut these holes. But for younger generations, this is really I don't know if I would have talked to these guys saying, hey, get rid of the reclosing spout or cap for recyclability. No, it's convenient stuff and reasons for that. But here it happened, and it was interesting to see, so to say, right? And you see how far you can go for saving the money, and I hope you can do the same thing for increasing recyclability and therefore increased sustainability. And this was a little run through some project that we've seen. You see here, we understand ourselves as a link between manufacturers of sustainable packaging and the brands looking for these sustainable packaging. And we want to bring, together what belongs together and help to increase recyclability out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Julian, for all those great examples. Now we would.
Am I still sharing? I'm sorry.
No, you are not sharing.
Okay,
anymore.
perfect.
Now, we had a lot of questions in the Q&A section. I saw already some questions are answered. So maybe for all the speakers, please have a quick look if you can answer the questions. Otherwise, we can also then laze you with the questionnaire afterwards. And now I would simply propose a short screen break so that everyone can have a cup of coffee, drink some water, or do some exercises, as I usually do in such screen breaks. And then I would like to invite you to be back at around 11:45. So you have 12 minutes roughly. And then we will start with a short roundtable with all our speakers and some further guests. And then you will have also an active part afterwards, 20 minutes where we want to have your recommendations and discuss some of them. So thank you for now, and have a nice little break.
And exercise is a must. Going away from the screen is a must. It really helps.
Yes, yes. So I hope you did some, I don't know, sit-ups, backflips, whatsoever, and didn't check all your emails. Hopefully you can do this later on. And it looks quite good. I think most of the people seem to be back. Okay. Good. Now what we have planned is yeah, a very short roundtable because we don't want to keep you online for the whole afternoon later on. And we got a lot of information already in the last 1.5 hours. Many things are, I would say, not completely new. It's a topic which plastic packaging, recycling, consumer perspective, which is something which has been discussed already a lot in the recent years. But everything is bringing, there is more speed in this area, especially as the Green Deal and also people and consumers are putting more pressure on environmental friendly and circularity topics. One question to everyone, or especially the speakers, and maybe Stefan, you can give first your perspective, is what do you think if we meet in 10 years from now? Maybe then with even more gray beard and whatsoever. What do you think we will discuss? What will be the status of plastic packaging, recycling, and how consumers will behave? What is your mind about that?
I would say we have a lot more reusable packaging. That's probably one really big change. And of course, we would still have something like recycling in the end, because also reusable packaging, then it's reused like 50 times or 100 times, but then again, it's recycled. But it's just at very, very much slower rates than today. And we will, for all application where it really starts to make sense, we will have, so it's food towards five. So we will have looked much more into any kind of reusable packaging. And maybe one of the challenges today is that the government say, please people have reusable packaging, and we do have some obligations for you to do so, but there's no coordination whatsoever from the governments. And in the future, this mistake, we will have overcome this mistake. And we know that there will be one coordinating horsepower in the middle that helps us to really build reusable packaging systems that make sense for all the consumers as well. And at the same time, we will not have reusable packaging everywhere, because I think as consumers, we cannot think of everything we buy like storing packaging at home and having like lots of spaces where we store packaging and then coordinate it all, bringing it back to different stations. So there's much more alignment. There's a lot of compatibility where we can like store some pieces really close together in very small spaces somewhere and can easily bring it back to one close station. Maybe can even bring it back with the household trash. It can also be that we have a nice system that helps us to get it right next door. So we will be much smarter in all these directions, I would say.
Okay, thanks, Stefan. Yeah, being much smarter would be definitely something every one of us is looking into it. Any other perspectives on what will be the discussion be in 10 years from now? I don't know. Cesar, Manfred, I think you also wanted to join, or Marilou. free to speak up.
Yes. I can comment as well if you want. Yeah, I think it's clear that the packaging regulation has five pillars. Okay, so there are specific objectives. So it's not just general overview. It's not just philosophy. It's just like specific targets for every year for every packaging. So the question now is like we will be able to reach what should we do in order to start working on this. But in 10 years' time, I think the question will be if we have reached or not. I think in many of the application of packaging, this it will be possible to reach, but in some others, that will be more difficult, no? Especially for some applications, some products in which, for instance, reuse is very difficult, or in which, for instance, recycling also, because they need specific materials like multi-layer, for instance, no? So I think the discussion in 10 years will be like where if the innovation has already permit to reach in which application, in which not, and then what are the new actions, no? So I think now are in a hurry. Also, discussion will be as well, in my opinion, not only on those five pillars, which are prevention, reuse, recycling, composting, and recycling content, but also in the carbon footprint. No, also we can do some changes in our packaging, but also we have to take into account other things. For instance, carbon footprint, also distribution costs, also shelf life of the product, and so on. So also discussion will be here. Like, okay, we have been advancing in those five pillars, but have we like go back in the other sustainability aspects or technical aspects of the packaging? No. So I think it's a challenge, really a challenge for the next 5 and 10 years.
Yes, there are many challenges ahead, and a lot of education which still needs to be done. Thank you for this. Marilou, maybe you could also give your perspective, also maybe from the design point of view on this, because we had also this topic in Stefan's presentation, that design also plays a crucial role, of course.
Yes, with pleasure. Yes, I think from a design perspective, we can associate changes or improvements towards also the consumer perspective. So in 10 years' time, I wish, or like I would like to see also from the consumer side a bigger awareness and a more standardized ways to actually dispose of packaging waste, or how to use or have a more efficient use phase of the packaging. And as was already mentioned, so how we can increase reusability from the consumer perspective. So this is what I would wish for in the next 10 years. Also, like really focusing on reusability, consumer awareness, and have design really play a crucial role in this transition.
Which is always the case, ongoing, but a lot of challenges also to shape design in a way that it's understandable, usable, in an industrial scale way also. So it's a big challenge. Maybe Manfred, what do you think can the policymakers do in order to support a new vision of plastic packaging?
Okay, thank you, Alexander. Here, what I think is very important for here all the actors on the European market is to have clarity concerning the legal situation, because here we are now in the, I would say, in the last steps of the PPWR. I think this is very important to have this legislation as soon as possible here legislated in Europe, and to have then clear and targets, and this must go hand in hand with the standardization process. Here, Julian told us that here they do, of course, recyclability assessment according to the German minimum standard. In the future, it must be, of course, a European harmonized standard, which is part of the legislation and the delegated act. So here, my point is industry need clear guidelines that are legally here prescribed so that they can invest and look into the future, because when you here not set up here a new production plant or so, you would need here 20, 30 years at least so that you are sure that you can use that. And this is only possible when you have the legal environment which makes this possible. This is what our customers tell us, that that problem, how they see it at the moment. So, and the question is, will there in future, for example, PE, EVOH, PE be considered as recyclable or not? These are the critical questions for the packaging users.
And how do you see the chances that we will get a clear framework which will enable also investments for the industry?
We will see that in the next 1.5 months, I would say, because then PPWR should be here accepted by the European Parliament. If that is the case, then I think that's the right way forward, because on the European level, the standardization process concerning recyclability assessment here is I would say very far concerning plastic packaging, not the other materials. They are still missing, and here I think there must be more a little bit faster this development so that we have these standards at least till 2025.
Okay, thanks a lot. So we all should cross fingers that we get some clear guidelines here. Marianne, you showed us very innovative recycling processes. Do you see further patents ahead in 10 years from now, which could also solve some of the issues with plastic packaging and the reuse and recyclability?
Yeah, I do foresee that the recycling technologies get a lot better and are able to target way more different types of polymers. But that's on one side, as a recycler, you always develop to widen whatever incoming feed you can have. That's as a business for the recycler, but it's also on one hand a bit dangerous, but at some point you could say that everything can be recycled, but still at a very high energy cost, because the processes that we are developing, the more contaminated the feed, the more effort you need to put in to get clean food grade output. So as an engineer, I can develop a process for, I won't say like whatever you give me, but we can develop processes for multi-layer packaging. We want to extend to fibers with different colorants. We want to extend to maybe technical film. We want to be able to put everything into our reactor and get clean output. And I think in that sense, as a recycler, we will keep on developing. And in 10 years' time, we will have way more patents. And we will, on paper, be able to recycle a lot more. But I think, that's my personal opinion, that we should be very careful to not just at some point think that everything is recyclable and just keep on investing so much energy in recycling and forgetting everything up front in the value chain that has luckily been so extensively discussed in this webinar. I think probably the patents that are more in the field that I'm working in are on reactor designs, flow schemes, maybe catalyst improvements, those kind of things. So still focusing on working with the same grade of feedstock and not try to broaden the feedstock groups ever and ever and ever more, because it will just cost way more energy as well to lift something low value to something high value.
And in the chemical sector, the feedstock discussion is ongoing, and there might be some big changes because of also environmental impact.
It also touches upon the topic that was said about theoretically, then everything is recyclable, but in practice, if you have some dedicated recycling plants that can handle a certain complex multi-layer system, then you have so much work to get that very complex multi-layer system to the right plant to recycle it. Then you should really wonder, like, do you even want to have such a process, or do you just upfront want to make sure that it is classified as not recyclable and therefore not allowed? And my personal opinion would go more into that direction, I think.
Okay, thank you a lot. Yeah, maybe also a question to you, Julian, because you mentioned that in your factories you have a lot of innovation and processes which enable recycling, but you also mentioned the consumer, which needs to be trained. So what do you see is the biggest opportunity in the end, where we should, if you would only have one bet, where would you put it?
Please don't let me bet. I would really go. I see these three really as on the same level. As I said, end consumer education, recyclable design, and the technology on the sorting plant. Looking for Germany, I would say there's, as we know, the yellow bag since more than 30 years. I see the end consumer education is there. There we need to go more into the trust again, right? After some scandals in the last decades. In other years, in other countries, we see that there's so much more to do, where there's just separate collection right now introduced. So here you need to really train people. And yeah, the packaging design, depending on what you consider as recyclable, or what study you want to follow, you see that 1/3 of all the packaging is still not recyclable. So there's so much left to do. And yeah, on the technology side, you see that the near-infrared detection technology is improving very well, and we try to find ways to get more information out of this. There was one question from Andreas regarding Holy Grail project, which is a project trying to put traces or digital watermarks into the packaging layout to get more information about the whether it is a food or non-food packaging, maybe if it's a de-inkable packaging. With that information, recyclers could make a higher quality recyclate out of this. I personally don't see this as the holy grail, as it says, because they say every brand can get back their specific packaging and their own packaging, which is just, I invite everybody into a sorting plant. Not really possible to make such small material streams. But there is information in the packaging that we cannot see today that could increase the sustainability and recyclability of the packaging. And even more important than reading out that information is really to get the information into the cloud, to collect data along the value chain about the packaging material, about the printing technology that was used, about the product that was in there. We need to bring all this information along the value chain through into a cloud, and really to read out that information again. And this is a part. Our cycle is a project working on that. That's not directly Holy Grail. So this was my approach to not make a bet and on one of these and try to explain how each of them could work.
It was not so nice to give you only one vote. It's too complex. I totally agree. Yeah, thanks for all your speeches and your insights. We are approaching almost, not completely the end of the webinar, but the last part, which is a little bit more active for all the participants. So Zhao, she created some breakout rooms, and you should now find also the link in the chat to a Miro board, which is open for access for everyone. And we would like you to choose to participate in one of the 4 groups. So we have one group which is about circular packaging design. This is group 1. We have a group about consumer awareness and education, which is group 2. And we have one group, which is group 3 for waste management, and one group 4 for policymaker. In all the groups, you will see on the Miro boards, we have listed the main challenges we discussed today, and also in the different researches we gathered, and we have some recommendations. And we would like you to read those recommendations and then just give one thumb up to the most important one, because today, as you discovered a little bit, we want to have a more clear guideline what to focus on. We have then in each and every group, we will have one facilitator, and then afterwards we can discuss a little bit. It will be 20 minutes max, not more. So please check out here below the breakout rooms and join the one where you want to participate. It's totally free. You have to choose. That's all. Click on the blue join button, and we'll be back here in 20 minutes all together.
How do you join a breakout room?
Can you see the breakout rooms options? If you find it should be in the below, like, or click on the 3 dots if you have
It is in the more, if you under more.
Okay, I just found it. Okay.
More, and then you join.
Then there is a breakout rooms, yes.
Yeah.
There are still some participants haven't decided yet. I see.
Sorry, how again do you really go into a group?
Can you see the on the Zoom on the button? It should be options like more or 3 dots. If you don't see any breakout rooms showing up, click on the more or the 3 dots you have. There should be breakout options.
Okay, I should not be in the whiteboard thing.
No, it's like it depends also on your Zoom version and settings. Yeah. Because I need to also go to the group 1 in a second to host the discussion. I would kindly ask the remaining participants also to choose your group. Anyone needs help? And I also see there is no participant yet joined the waste management. If anyone is interested in that, I would encourage you to join the group 3, join Ahmad. So Caesar, do you need any help?
Sorry, I was muted. Can you repeat?
Do you need any help because you haven't chosen any group yet?
No, it's not. Yeah. So to join the group, should I?
Do you see
No.
breakout rooms?
Let's see. Not really.
No, like at the bottom you should find like options more. Can you not see any breakout rooms?
No. Is it in the section?
Can you see
m-
chat, Q&A, your
yeah,
reaction? It should be
Q&A. I
there.
can. Yeah.
And can you
Yeah.
find breakout rooms options? Or in the chat session, you should find.
I will check in the chat again.
Okay, yeah.
So
And I
yeah.
have, yeah.
Yeah, in the chat, I have all the comments in the chat that I were, but not really to join the rooms actually.
Wait, which room do you want to? I will assign you there. Which room? You want to join the circular packaging design or the waste management? Maybe there is not participants there yet.
Yeah, so my presentation was more circular packaging design, but in the other I can also participate because Merlin is more focused on this. So yeah, if you have less people there, maybe I
Yeah.
can be there.
The waste management, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I will assign you there.
So if you can just okay, perfect. That would be great.
Che, do you need
And
any?
then yeah, now I can
Yeah.
just get there. Okay, yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, Zhao, did you?
Yeah, sorry for the delay because our group needed a couple of minutes more time. We started later, and I also kindly ask all the participants, feel free to add anything, comments on the sticky notes also after the webinar, because we really have very tight schedule today, and for not maybe give all the participants enough time to dig even deeper.
Okay, good. I think did you close the breakout room already?
I closed all the breakout room actually.
Okay, good. I think then we are anyway at the end. So in our breakout room, we discussed a lot about the need of standardization. And so as you mentioned, for those who are still with us, please, use the opportunity, use the link on Miro, and you can also, of course, check the other different groups, not only the one you attended. Read the recommendation and give your input if you want to. It's always very valuable and will be helpful for the whole project team to set up clear recommendations for the EU Commission, because this is what we are looking for. So thanks a lot to everyone for the great contribution. I think many information. We will also share all the content to the participants. What can be shared, and I wish you a nice Easter now. Please make sure that also the egg packaging, I see Mrs. Lamprecht, she has an egg in her bag, that it's in the right bin afterwards. And have some nice days off. And thank you all for your contribution and joining. And feel free to add some further notes on the Miro board. And if there are further questions, you can reach out to Ahmad and Zhao, and we will try to reply to every one of it. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
And have a nice lunch.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.